So this video is going to show you how to create 10-0, which is pulley wheel. And this is going to be another file that we're going to use just the standard IPT file because it is a decimal drawing. So make sure that that's the one that you do open. And then you hit Start 2D Sketch and click on the XY plane like we're used to doing. But we're going to do something a little bit different. Before we even start doing anything with drawing, what we need to do is project geometry and then expand the origin, and we want to do the x-axis and the y-axis, and this is going to be very different than what we typically do for a drawing, but it's going to be very, very cool once we finish it. After we have that done, just go ahead and pick somewhere not on the x-axis but somewhere on the y-axis, and we're going to create this general shape. So dimensions don't matter right now. We're going to be modifying all of those dimensions momentarily, but we want, again, this general shape. And we're going to do something that's a little bit different than what we're used to. So we're going to be creating something that actually revolves around this axis. So it's going to be a wheel. And to create a dimension that's going to account for the symmetrical nature of the design that we're creating, we're going to have to pick the axis of symmetry, which is going to be here. And then we're going to use something called a linear diameter. So I'm going to select dimension, and then click on the x-axis, and then select this bottom edge. And then I'm not going to click to place this dimension. I'm actually going to right click and select linear diameter. And we can now see that this diameter is actually, I'm going to pull this out so you guys can see it, is actually talking about from here to here and from here to here. So I'm going to do the same thing now. Right here, x-axis first. And then I'm going to pick on this point. Before I click to select it, I'm going to right click and do a linear dimension. And then I can pull this out as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add all the dimensions so you guys can see how this should look. And then we can work on modifying those dimensions. So here are all the dimensions that you need. It was very, very important, and you probably realized this if you went ahead and did this while it was a good time to pause the video, that if you didn't select the x-axis first, then this did not work as it should have. So one thing really quickly that I know that happened for me when I was working on this was this dimension right here. It was telling me that it would over-constrain the drawing because I had this drawn. When I drew this, I actually had it stop at the same point here and here, so I had to snap. So if it doesn't let you add that dimension, that should be okay because it was snapped where it was. Or you could always do this button, hit this button that says Show Constraints, and then click on this line, and then if you do get a constraint, a little icon will appear, and what I did is just click on that and delete that. Otherwise, once you have all these dimensions, you should be good to go. Now we are going to have to modify these, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the largest one. It's always best to start when you're doing something like this with the largest, and so this is actually going to be 4. So you can see if I zoom out that it's going to distort it quite a bit. So I'm going to do 4, and then I can do 3.75. I'm just going to kind of keep going through 3.5, do 1.5, and then 1.25, and then 0.75. So once I get that done, I can modify this, which is 0.75, and it should adjust here, and then I'm going to do 0.125. So once you have those dimensions done, so I can kind of pull some of these out so you guys can see them a little bit better. Once you have this done, though, we just have a couple more things, and then we'll be almost done with this drawing. So let's go ahead and hit Finish Sketch, and then make sure that we do have the home view selected, and then zoom out so we can see everything. And we're going to use something called Revolve Now. So once this is selected, we've got a couple things that we're going to have to change in order to make this an actual. So make sure the profile is selected and that it went ahead and selected this shape. If it didn't, for whatever reason, just go back to that sketch and make sure everything is complete. Then click on Axis, and we're going to click on the X-axis, and then we're going to now have something that's been revolved. That same shape has been revolved all the way around, and we now have a wheel. So I'm going to hit OK, and I can rotate this and see how this is going to look. You can see how the back is, and then how our front is. So we got a couple more things to do to make this a little bit more realistic. So we can now actually mirror this onto the back side that was so plain when we were looking at before. So let's go ahead and rotate this back, and we can select mirror right here. And instead of having features selected, let's select mirror plane, and we're going to select this as our plane. Then I can click on this again. It's going to select everything that was shown up almost as hidden lines, and we can see how it's projecting, and hit OK. And now it's been projected onto that back side as well. So we have the same feature. So it saves a lot of time and effort, and just be able to click a couple buttons, and now we've got the same shape on the opposite side. So we're now going to make some holes where this face is right here. So what I'm going to do is go to 3D Model, do Start 2D Sketch, and I'm going to select the YZ plane. It's going to rotate for me. I need to do project geometry for a couple of things. I'm going to do it for the Z axis and for my Y axis. This is going to come in handy later on when I'm dimensioning, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to select these lines for when I'm using this plane. So what I need to do now is go ahead and I'm going to create a circle of arbitrary size. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to just create it right here so I can see it right now. And now I can't. So now you can see hopefully why I've been telling you guys from time to time to go to view and change things to wireframe, because now I can actually see this circle. So do something a little bit different than what we've done before. I'm going to select line, and right here this is going to allow us to be able to create a construction line. So we go ahead and select that. Then I'm going to pick the center point of this circle and the center point of this circle to create a construction line. Then I'm going to be able to go ahead and dimension. So I'm going to select the construction line and the x-axis, and I'm going to change this to 30 degrees. Then I'm going to create a circle and make sure that construction is still selected, and I'm going to click the center point of our circle and the center point of our small circle, and then I can go ahead now and dimension this, and it's going to constrain it, so whenever I move this, my circle is going to move as well. I want this to be 2.5, and then I want to go ahead and make this dimension 0.5. So you can hopefully understand why we did the construction lines. These are not going to be actual lines. These are just helping us construct where that. So now we can hit Finish Sketch, and we can go ahead and rotate to this, the home. Make sure that you go ahead and change the view back. It'll be a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to change the shader with edges. And then I'm going to do 3D and do Extrude. And it's going to be able to allow me, even though I can't see it, to select where my extrusion is. I'm going to change this all. I'm going to change this to symmetric and change it to cut. Then I can hit OK. We actually need to go back and change this. We're going to make a slight modification, and we're going to change this angle from 30 to 90 degrees, and this is going to allow us now, we're going to be able to create a pattern. So I'm going to hit Finish Sketch, and it's going to move it so it's now straight above at a 90-degree angle. And then, like I said, we can go ahead and create a pattern, and it's going to include 4 more. Now we can use something that's very similar to array, so I'm going to use something called pattern. I'm going to do circular features to be selected, so I'm going to be very careful with what I select. I'm going to make sure I only select that hole. Then I can do rotation axis. I can click on that, and it's not going to pull out the axis, but I can click on the x-axis, which is what I want. Right now you can see it's creating really 6 holes. I only want 5, so I can change that to 5. Leave the angle, the fill angle is 360. Hit OK, and I now have 5 holes. So a lot easier than drawing each of these holes and having to figure out where they go and figure out the angles. So much easier to use array just like we did in AutoCAD. So make sure that you have this done before we move on to putting it on a sheet. So this is going to be a little bit different, just like 9-0 was. Our sheet size and everything else, so it's the same. But when we go to base view, we're not going to select front. Let's make this scale 3/4. What we're going to do is select the, let's see, we can do the right side, and then we're just going to place in the front, and then you can just do right click and okay. Now we're going to do something, instead of auxiliary, we're going to do a section. So we're actually going to see what's through this. You can see with the video kind of what's happening. We're going to draw a line that goes down through the center, and then it's going to be creating a section view so we can see kind of what's inside of this. So I'm going to click on section, and select the view. Then you can see my cursor's changed. So what I need to do is make sure that I have a line that's going through the center all the way from one side to another. Then I can do right click, continue. You see I'm going to be able to pull it over, and this is going to be how my section is going to look. Before I do anything, I do want to uncheck this. This is going to remove a label that would be otherwise put onto the section. Let's make sure that this identifier is set to A, and then I can just click, and it's going to create a section for me. So this is actually the inside now of this drawing. So I'm going to have to move this over a little bit because I do want to include another base view, and I'm going to do the ISO top right. Actually, let's do top left so it looks like it's going in the direction that it should. Let's change the scale to, we'll make it fairly small, we'll make it 3/8, and I'll just put it right over here and then create that. Because this is a little bit different than what we've done in the past, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how the dimensions should look. In order to get the diameter dimension, what I did was I just retrieved dimensions, and all of these dimensions and all of these dimensions appeared. The only two that I really had to add or modify were these two because it just did it in half. Since when we created the drawing, we did not do from here to here and from here to here. So that was in order to create this shape on both sides. We had to mirror that. So I went ahead and added those dimensions. Other than that, you guys should space these out, and they're going to be spaced out a little bit more than normal. So now we're going to learn how to add center lines using something a little bit different. This is going to be centered for like a pattern. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to select any circular feature on this object. It doesn't matter which one. So I'm just going to select this circle, and then I'm going to select this hole, this one. I'm going to keep selecting all of the holes, and I'm going to end up right back here, and I'm going to have a circular pattern. And we're going to make a design change. Let's go back to the part really quickly, and we're going to click on circular pattern, and let's make this 6 now. Hit OK. Let's go ahead. I'm not going to close that. I'm going to go back to the part, and I'm going to go ahead and add the center lines back. The reason that they disappeared was because we just made a design change. So let's go ahead and click on a circular feature again, and then go and select all of these circles, which is not difficult to do. And then right click and create, and then we can just hit escape. Now what we can do is go ahead and drag these so that they meet in the middle. So you can do this for all of these, so it actually is more of a realistic center line, and these should be fine right here because we have the section line going through it right now. So we can go ahead and pull these center lines out as well, since these center lines do belong to this circle, and the center lines right here, the vertical ones, we won't be able to see those because of the section line anyway. We need to add one more dimension and a couple more center lines, and then we're done with this drawing. So I'm going to add a dimension for between the center lines here. So this angular dimension is going to be 60. Go ahead and hit OK and select that. We have 3 center lines that we need to add. So we're going to do center line bisector and select this right here and here and here. Once we have those done, you can actually leave this where you don't pull those out. You might want to adjust this dimension slightly. Otherwise, you're good to go ahead and submit and upload this to Schoology.